Hi, everyone, and welcome to this Living an Awakened Life episode of the Awareness Podcast. I'm your host, Susan Telford, and I'm delighted today to have as my guest Louise Kay. Welcome, Louise. It's lovely to talk to you again.
Thank you, Susan. Lovely to talk to you. I'm happy to be here again.
So, for those of you who do not know Louise, I'll just tell you a little bit about her. Louise was born in England, and after graduating from university, she taught English for 15 years. During this time, she began to question the deeper meaning of life, and this led her to a path of spirituality where she found a strong resonance with the teachings of non-duality. In her early 30s, Louise felt a deep call in her heart to visit India, and it was there that she experienced a profound spiritual awakening. Louise's passion is to sit together in presence and to hold gentle, unconditionally loving space for all emotions, all sensations, and all experiences which arise in the moment, in order to support the integration of unresolved energies and allow the unfolding of the divine in all who feel the call. We've called this episode Embodiment and Integration. And I think you'll find as you listen, you will have a direct experience of Louise's ability to sit in presence and to allow that facilitation to happen. So I would really encourage you, if you're listening, to put down everything else that you're doing and to really focus here with us for an hour. So welcome again, Louise. It's so nice to talk to you again. We've done this quite a number of times now. So I always begin these Living an Awakened Life podcasts by asking the kind of obvious question: what is spiritual awakening? From your perspective, what does it mean to be spiritually awake?
Spiritual awakening is a phenomena that occurs when somebody transcends the conditioned mind and the sense of being a separate individual self. And what that means is that an opening to higher consciousness happens, and that can happen either spontaneously or through certain practices. And in that opening, there's access to a deeper dimension of reality, the eternal, deeper truth of one's true nature, who one really is, which is pure consciousness.
And how did that happen for you? In your bio, it says you went to India and it was there that you had a profound spiritual awakening. So how did that unfold in your life?
Yeah, it's very cliche, isn't it, to go to India and have a spiritual awakening?
We all want to go to India.
But it's not necessary to go to India. It can happen anywhere. And for me, like you mentioned in the bio, there was this interest that spontaneously arose where there was a questioning. I mean, what is the meaning of this life? What is this reality? And a longing to, maybe also an intuitive feeling that there's something deeper, there's something more than this superficiality that we're presented with. That the meaning of life is to go to college and get a degree and get a good job and get a lot of money and get married and have kids and a nice house with a picket fence. There, you're done.
Happily ever after.
Yes. Something felt a bit off to me. And it was like an intuitive knowing there must be something more, and that ignited the search. And once I heard these teachings of truth, it resonated so deeply inside. There was this knowing, this is what I'm looking for, this is it. And from there was, with that knowing, a total dedication of giving my life to whatever it took to live these practices. And that was the precursor for the moment. There was a profound moment of awakening where there was transcendence of the conceptual self. But I feel it's important also to share that that's not the case for everyone. Everyone has their own individual, unique journey, and some people have a more gradual journey of awakening where there's not a peak falling away, like, oh, where you can pinpoint that moment something happened. It's just very gentle, and because people can project the idea that I'm waiting for that moment, and then they're trying to get there. And of course, that's the opposite of the teaching, which is to be in this moment now and accept what's here now.
Yeah, we were joking earlier about going to India, but often you hear people say, but I went to India and it didn't happen for me. And I want to pick up on a word you used. You said spontaneous. And to what extent do you think that that it is that even the interest, even that feeling of there must be more to life than this, to what extent is that spontaneous? That it's almost, it's not something we choose? Because we can see in life, some people are interested in spirituality and other people couldn't care less. So what do you think of that?
Yeah, I think it's just like some people are interested in tennis, some people are interested in football, some people are interested in playing the piano, and some people, they get interested in this. Why? We don't know. Maybe it's something before our incarnation that our soul wants to experience, that maybe we'll discover after we die. We just know that for some people the interest is there, and some people it's not. And some people the interest is not there, and then something happens in their life.
Yes.
Or they have a profound spiritual experience, and it opens something, and then it comes. So there's a mystery to it.
It's a mystery. Yeah, that's the word that was coming to me. It's a mystery. Yeah.
Yeah. And I like that it's a mystery. I feel like if we really understood the whole of the universe, then it would take away some magic. And how is it possible that our limited human mind can try to understand the whole of existence anyway? It's a ridiculous concept, because it's so clear that our mind is so limited. We know that we're not even perceiving a fraction of the reality that's out there. And the language we have is so limited, so it could never be summed up in any words that we have anyway. So I much prefer just to enjoy it as a magical mystery.
Yes. Yeah, I was listening to something the other day, and it was talking just even about the light spectrum. You know, we only see a limited range of the light spectrum, and even that tiny little bit shows us that we don't even know what's out there. You know, I don't know. I think the more I go on in this, the more I realise that we actually know nothing. There's very little that we know. Yeah. So we hear things like there's nothing to do, there's no one to do it, there's nothing, you know, it's just it's unfolding, and there's no doer, there's no personal doer, and everything is just perfect as it is. And on the other side, we hear that there is a journey, there is an unfolding, there is an, as the title of this suggests, there is a way of embodying and integrating whatever awakening you've had. They seem really paradoxical. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, there are many paradoxes in this spiritual journey, and that is part of the magic and mystery of it. And many times it's not black and white, it's not this or that, it's this and that. And of course, our limited human mind can't understand that. It can't understand how it's both, how can both be true. And the reason the mind can't understand is because the deeper truth of reality lies beyond the conceptual mind. So it can only be understood through a direct experiential knowing, not through a mental knowing. So while somebody is trying to understand it on the mental level by thinking about it and trying to apply logic to spiritual awakening, it's like a dog chasing its own tail, and they just go round and round in circles. And it's only when you stop trying to understand mentally that there's the discovery of this deeper truth that's already here. And from the perspective of the absolute, it is absolutely true that there is nobody here, there's nothing to do, everything is perfect just as it is. And from the perspective of the relative, it's very important that we do our spiritual practices and we take action on things that are important. And so they're both true.
Yeah. And it occurs to me that we listen to podcasts such as this often because we want to learn how to live an awakened life, how to awaken spiritually, how to do it. That's often the motivation. And yet you're saying very clearly it's not about learning, it's not about an intellectual understanding, it's about a direct experience. So are you able in this moment to offer our listeners a practice, a guided practice for 5 minutes or so, that will really allow them to have that direct experience, so that this does not just become one more thing that's listened to and forgotten and moved on to the next thing, but that actually in this moment with us, I said at the beginning, asked people to be present with us now. So in this moment, can you offer us, can you guide us to a direct experience of our true nature?
Yes.
Please.
Yes, I'll be very happy to.
Thank you.
And it's important for people to understand that it's not about waiting for an experience to happen, because any experience is actually not it. And again, it's another paradox, because clearly something does happen when spiritual awakening takes place. So I'll give some pointers now, and we treat it like a short guided meditation. So I invite everybody just to make yourself really comfortable for this, and bring your attention fully present into this moment right now. So let go of everything that happened in the past, from last year to last month, last week, a minute ago, even a second ago. And let go of what might happen in the future. So your only concern, all your attention is deeply present here now in this moment. And just notice that your body is breathing. Just observe that. Notice the inhalation and the exhalation. And watch how your body moves with that breathing. And just notice that you're not doing it. The body's breathing by itself, and you're observing it. You're aware of it. And notice also any sounds that are present in this moment. Maybe the hum of the fridge or the air conditioner, the sound of birds outside, the sound of my voice. And notice how you're just aware of the sounds too. Notice whatever thoughts appear in this moment, but don't give interest in the content of the thoughts. Just observe the thoughts and watch them coming and going like clouds passing through the sky. And see that you're observing that too. Now close your eyes and notice the sensations of what we call the body. Without labeling the parts of the body, the head, the arms, the legs, the chest, just notice what each part feels like as sensation. As aliveness. And include that too as part of the experience of this moment. So the sense perceptions are very aware of all this activity that's happening in this moment. And the movement of the body breathing changes with the inhale and the exhale. The sounds change, come and go. The thoughts appear and disappear. But you, the observer, you, awareness, which witnesses, you're never changing. You're always here. And you don't have to do anything to be here. So what is it that's witnessing this moment right now? Or you might say, I am. Just have a look. What exactly does this I, this label I, refer to? Just take a moment to explore the nature of it, to feel it. It's invisible, it's sensed. You find any boundaries, any beginning or end? Is any experience that's appearing outside of awareness? Even the experience of the body as sensations is appearing in you, awareness now. And without attaching any labels or stories to any experience, can you be here simply as pure awareness, aware that you're aware. And now slowly and gently open your eyes. But keep your attention resting as awareness. Still aware of your body breathing. Still aware of sounds. Still aware of the experience of the body as sensations. You might sense a deeper peace, deeper stillness that's here, and it's always here. It's just that most of us have got into an unconscious habit of focusing our attention in a limited way through a filter of an idea of me and who I am. And then reality is experienced through that filter, which creates suffering and problems. When we understand how to relax the attention and rest it as pure awareness, just aware, thoughtless, spacious, then you're free. Free to be your authentic self.
Thank you, Louise. I love the simplicity of the pointing, and there's a familiarity always that this has always, at some level, this has always been known.
Yes, it's always been here.
Yes.
It always will be here.
Yeah.
There is a simplicity to it. Many people have an expectation of something exotic happening, but the actual recognition is, oh yeah, this is it. It's, how did I not realize this before? It's so simple.
Yeah. For me, it always brings back memories of early childhood.
Yes, because children have their attention focused in this way before they take on the conditionings and they copy adults. And that's why, because when you relax and open your attention, it's back to that pure being, like a baby. Before it learns who I am, it already is its most natural, authentic self, without trying to impress anyone, without trying to be good, without trying to behave the right way to be accepted. It's just authentic.
Yes. Yes, it's, Jesus said in the Bible, unless you become as little children, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven. And that's been made to mean all kinds of things, but I think this is what it means, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, to remember your natural state before you took on the conditionings about, well, it depends what environment you grew up in.
Yeah.
I sometimes talk about it like we get input with a computer program. And if you grow up in this family or this country or this religion, it's a different program. And then spiritual awakening is a kind of uninstalling of that program, because much of it is installed in our unconscious mind. So we're behaving in ways, believing things that we're not even aware of. It's all unconscious. So as we become more conscious, these limiting beliefs or conditioned beliefs start to reveal themselves. They come into the conscious mind and we see, oh yeah, I took this on from my parents and it's causing me to behave this way, which is causing me suffering and pain. And now I see it's not my preferred way to live.
That's the clue, isn't it? Whenever there's suffering and pain, that's the kind of the flag, I suppose, isn't it? That what am I believing? Who am I believing myself to be in this moment?
Yes.
Yeah. And the thing about, if very little had changed, I often think that, if I'd been born in the house next door even, it doesn't have to be another country or another religion. It could be as simple as, I was just born to the woman in the house next door rather than to my mother. Everything would have been completely different. My conditioning would have been completely different.
Yes, yeah. And it's amazing to see how we don't question and we just believe the thoughts that are appearing in awareness. And I like to give this practice sometimes when I'm with a group of people, to imagine if all your thoughts were just switched with the thoughts of another person in the room, then it would be very clear for many of us that these thoughts it's not true, it's nonsense. I'm not interested in perceiving through this filter of this painful story. And then we can say, oh yeah, my mind's working in the same way. It's a different story, but it's also painful. So when we first become aware of a story that we're telling about life, about reality, and that we're believing in, we don't need to believe in it anymore. And when we're free from the story, there's peace.
Yeah, that's freedom, isn't it?
Yes.
So thank you for that. Thank you for giving us that journey. So, as I said, this is called embodiment and integration. So, having had that experience, that I'm not my thoughts, I'm not my body, I'm not my conditioning, that I'm this that's aware. How do we then embody that? How do we integrate that? How do we go forward? Because often, we can have these experiences and we touch something really deep and peaceful and still, and there's the recognition, and then we carry on with the rest of our day and we just completely forget. Or it seems to, it recedes back into the background again, and all the foreground of all the busy stuff happens. So how do we come to embody that and integrate it so that that is our direct experience in every moment?
In a way, that recognition of one's true nature as awareness and not the conceptual self is the beginning of the spiritual journey.
Not the end.
No, it's the beginning, really. And the embodiment and the integration is something that happens over a lifetime, in time, in physicality. And there's, from what I can see, no end to that. So there's not this is one of the greatest misconceptions that people have, that there will be this moment and then that's it. Now the rest of my life is smooth sailing, no challenges, just peace and bliss. And that's a delusion. It's not. If anyone is telling you this is how it is, then I would advise caution. Yeah. Because it's not the reality of spiritual awakening.
Yeah, it's such an important point, that, because I hear people saying things like, I thought I had a glimpse. I thought that I recognized my true nature, but then this happened and I got upset again, or, all of that stuff. Therefore, that mustn't have been it. And speak to that, just because life continues to happen and emotions arise, because often there's a misconception that after the awakening, there's only going to be peace and bliss and joy, and there's never going to be anything other than that. And if there is, I'm doing something wrong. There's a whole piece to that, isn't there?
Yeah. It's very rare, actually, for somebody to experience spiritual awakening to such an extent, such a depth, that the whole conceptual self instantly falls away, and there's a constant resting of the attention as awareness. I don't know how many people have experienced that, if any. I don't think I know of any, but it's possible. And there's a few teachers today that have had an experience more similar to that. But for the majority of people, what happens is there's a glimpse. It's like the curtains open and then they close again. Or the veil's lifted. Yes, this is it. And then it falls again. And I often talk about it like a pendulum, where it will go backwards and forwards like this. And it's a bit like waking up, falling asleep, waking up, falling asleep. And it's very important to fully embody the teachings as the number one priority in life, because that's what allows for the pendulum to become more anchored in truth, the waking state. The moment you give secondary interest to living in truth, it's gonna very easily be pulled back into unconsciousness. Like there's an invisible force that pulls us, and it's understandable because we practiced so many years living in that unconscious conditioned state that it become so familiar. It feels like the norm. It feels natural, but it's not our natural state. So a vigilance is required to make the shift where the natural state becomes that of resting as awareness. Now, the physical body is more dense than, let's say, the light of awareness. And it takes time for the understanding to infiltrate into the body, and also on the level of the mind. So very often there's a recognition of myself as awareness, and that's always here. Whether it's veiled or not, it's here. You're always awareness. But through the practice, that recognition then filters through the mind, which causes thought processes to change, and also less thoughts to appear with time. And on the level of the physical and energetic body, what happens is that the unprocessed emotions that have been stored in the body, like trauma or anything that hasn't been fully felt, surfaces so that the whole system can experience a healing process. And it's a bit like an onion, where it has to be met layer by layer by layer by layer, and then the light enters into the body. I've forgotten the question now, Susan. I think maybe I'm not answering it anymore. I go off on tangents sometimes.
I can't actually remember the question that I asked you, but I can pick up from there. Because you mentioned the body, because often we hear teachings like, I'm not the body. And that sometimes can be misunderstood, such that people just exclude the body. We just think we don't need to think about the body anymore because I'm not the body. So speak a bit more about how awakening affects the body. How what's the body's role in awakening? I suppose my question is.
It's true that I'm not the body, and because I am eternal, and the body is a temporary expression of me, the eternal consciousness. And in our inquiry, it's the first step to create a sense of separation from that which we've been totally identified with, me as a conceptual self and me as thoughts. The thoughts are me. And this physical lump of meat and flesh is me. When I say I, it refers to this. That's not true. So through self-inquiry, we can begin to understand, maybe first on the mental level and then through direct experience, that I'm that which is aware of the experience of the body and the thoughts. So, I'm not the body. The body will die. I am eternal. I will remain as awareness. It doesn't stop there though. And this is where some people get confused, and then there's a disassociation from reality if you stop there. It doesn't matter whatever happens. Yes, people suffering, doesn't matter, it's not real, it's an illusion anyway, nothing's real, don't need to take care of the body. I'll just hang out here as awareness in peace. And that's the incomplete teaching, because the next step in the understanding is that there is no separation between the experience of the body and the awareness, because the body is appearing in me, and that's also me, temporarily. It's another paradox. So I'm not the body and I'm also the body. They're both true. And then there's actually a more intimate experience with the body, because now the body is experienced consciously. Before this understanding, many people have a tendency to disassociate from the body because it's uncomfortable to experience the body. So through the practice of embodiment, which means consciously feeling the body as aliveness of sensations, the higher consciousness penetrates deep inside the system, and the intelligence of it brings about healing or rebalance wherever something is out of balance. And I'll be honest with you, it's not always an easy ride, because many of us have deeply repressed pain and emotion that we're not even aware of. When we become more conscious, we become aware of it. And then it has to be met. Every shadow, every darkness has to be faced. And that requires courage. That requires the strength, which is the strength to be vulnerable, to be so open, to allow it all to be felt and held in unconditional love. Oh yeah, the fear of not being good enough. Oh, I feel it, I acknowledge it, I see it. The pain of abandonment at an early age. And it can be really powerful, like on the retreats I do or on the Sunday Zoom meetings I do. We dive into this, because this is a really, from my perspective, important part of the spiritual awakening process, that we give space to let these parts come up and look and really inquire, well, what am I believing about myself? And then to see where the belief is wrong, and to give space to feel this deep, deep pain that's never been met. And it's challenging to do that. But when we're doing it together, and there's an understanding, a sense of a community that, yeah, I'm going through this too. I understand. I see the importance of it. It brings a closeness and a bonding. It's a very beautiful process, actually. I feel very grateful to have opportunity to support people in this, because that's really what brings about the transformation on the level of the human. That's where our behavior changes, the way we relate to life and relate to other people changes, because we become more conscious, because the trauma that's been running the show releases, it integrates, and it creates more space to allow the expression of a higher consciousness to flow through us.
Yeah, it's so important. I'm so glad you said all of that, because often, I think because we build up a mental image of what spiritual awakening looks like. And therefore, when that process of repressed emotions coming up or contractions in the body coming up, we look and think, no, that's not right. That should not be happening. And then we re-repress them. Yes. We don't allow them to come up and out, to be felt, to be released. And so to hear you say that, it almost gives us permission although no permission is really needed, but it almost it brings it to the light, doesn't it? That this is a normal part of the spiritual awakening process. And you're not doing something wrong when, maybe a lot of repressed anger comes out, for example, and that's seen to be, well, I'm spiritual now, therefore I can't be angry. And all we're doing is just pushing it down more and more and more. So, yeah.
Yes. What happens is there's initially identification with a conceptual self, an idea of me and who I am, the personality, what I like, what I don't like, all my memories, the idea of me. And then there's a spiritual awakening. And what many people experience is that conceptual self transfers itself to a spiritual conceptual self based on the idea of what they think it means to be spiritual. Yes. And then there's an efforting to try to behave the right way. And it's innocent, but that's not it. What is it is to tell the truth, to be radically honest, and whatever shows up, to allow it fully. And the deeper understanding is that whatever shows up ultimately is not me, and it's innocent. So if rage, hatred, the most evil, and I say like this because there is no evil, I call it innocent evil, whatever emotions show up, then I am that which witnesses, and I only have to get rid of it if I believe that it defines who I am. But once I see that I'm not defined by the experience, I'm free from it, I can give space for it, and the energy can be felt, and then it can release and allow more love to flow through.
Yes. And I don't normally do this, but I just feel to do it. I don't know if you know, I wrote a book of poetry.
Oh, I would love to hear one.
It's really relevant to this. It's called An Endless Namaste, Poems of Awakening. And this reflected my experience of exactly what you're talking about. It's called Song of the Mother. Go slowly, nestle under my wings, breathe my breath, sing my song. Love whatever is arising. All pain and sorrow are your lost children re-emerging to be loved at last. You are the one they have waited for to love them. Embrace those shut out children banished from your heart. The lonely one, the angry one, the misunderstood one, the isolated one, the rejected one, the girl with the light in her eyes who hid herself away. Each one steps forward now, brave enough to surrender to your loving embrace. Greet them all, your own beloved children. Braid their hair, sing them songs of love. Oh, my darlings, you are home. Welcome at last, just as you are.
That was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us, Susan.
Because I had that experience of feeling that parts of myself were unacceptable to one on a spiritual journey.
Yes.
And I came to that recognition of knowing that these were repressed parts, like lost children, coming to be loved by all that is.
Yes. Beautiful.
So, when is it, Louise? In July. Which, as this podcast goes out, will be next month. We're actually recording this in April. As it goes out, it will be next month, July the 10th and the 24th. Louise will be joining us at the Teachers of God Foundation to give 2 masterclasses on the subject of embodiment and integration. So can you say a little bit, Louise, about what people might expect if they come to join us? Obviously, we've given them a real flavour here of the direction that you lead people and the type of thing that you are particularly interested in. But can you say a little bit more about those masterclasses?
Yes, yes. I will be offering a longer guided meditation similar to the taster we had today, to invite people to have a clear, direct, experiential understanding of their true nature. And then there will be an expansion on what we've touched on today to give people a deeper understanding of this embodiment and integration process and what that looks like as you live it in life, not just as theory or concept, but how to, on a practical level, experience this process of spiritual awakening and integration while you're going to work, while you're raising a family, how these two worlds come together and we can live them as one, so that we don't have a separation between my spiritual practice and my spiritual life and the rest of life. My whole life is this spiritual awakening. And then there will be opportunity for people to come up on screen and explore directly with me in the moment whatever is showing up in their life, whatever wants to be met. And so we'll give an in the moment guidance on and I'll support people in the moment how to meet those emotions that might be coming up, those energies that might be coming up that nobody showed us how to process it. Nobody taught us how to be present with these painful emotions, how to disidentify from these stories.
Thank you. So it sounds to me as though this is for anyone with an interest even in spiritual awakening, because as you did earlier, as you said, the taster of pointing to true nature, even if someone has not had a glimpse as yet, this series of masterclasses is for them as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Anybody who has an interest.
Has an interest. Yes. Yeah. It's such a precious thing, that interest, I think, isn't it? It seems to arise, as I said earlier, it seems to arise almost like everything. It arises out of nowhere, and yet it just kind of grows when we give it a bit of attention. And
yeah, it's the greatest gift that one can receive in this lifetime. And even if there's a tiny spark of interest, if that's nurtured like a little seed that needs watering every day, and it seems like, oh, nothing's happening, it's not that interesting. If you nurture that, it can bring to your life the greatest change, the greatest transformation that your mind cannot even imagine. It can bring blessings on every level of your life. And I'm not trying to just sell people something here. This is from my own direct knowing, my own direct experience. If you've been gifted with that spark of interest, then do whatever you can to keep that fire alive inside. Nurture it like it's the most precious thing that you could ever be given. Because it's a gift from God.
Yeah, it's just pure grace. And these masterclasses take place within a context of a community. So there will be information in the show notes with this podcast of how you can join us and you will be given support and encouragement both from Louise and from the community. And as Louise mentioned, she has Zoom meetings every Sunday. So if you are really resonating with Louise and you want to spend time with her, then I'll also put a link to show you how you can register to be with Louise on a Sunday as well. So thank you so much.
I just want to let people know that those Sunday meetings are open to everybody. It's by donation, so everyone is welcome.
Okay. We'll put the information in the show notes so that people can see and connect with you. So thank you so much, Louise. I'm really looking forward to being with you in July. And thank you for the pointing and I think your bio really captures it. It's not what you say; it's your presence, and yeah, I'm always touched by being with you. So thank you so much for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. I really appreciate it.
And thank you everyone for listening. Bye bye.